in a contact sport, you get a cut, and usually it's above the eyebrow or it's on the chin, and it warrants stitches, or it's deep enough that it needs to be sealed appropriately. It's not going to be sealed by a Band-Aid. What you can do is use your Seri strips to seal that. Now, with that being said, there's other products on the market that you can use as in liquid stitches that will provide you an instant seal on the wound. So I can show you that, but again, you don't have to use those, and it's not your obligation to seal the wound.
How much is that stuff again? The liquid stitches?
It's about $50 a packet, but if you get it online, it's going to run you more like $60 to $80. Okay, so we have our cut here, and let's say it's quite deep, but we need to at least approximate the edges so we can get him to the hospital to get stitches, or if we're going to liquid seal it ourselves. So first things first, we get all our stuff set up. Don't rush this. The only time I've ever had to rush it is, a playoff hockey. We want to get them back on for the next shift. Other than that, take your time. So I'll get the athlete to do this. We're going to clean the wound first. So he's going to take the alcohol swab. And, well, first you're going to stop the bleeding. So you hold your gauze down and wait for the bleeding to stop. And then the alcohol swab's going to go on to clean it. And then Seri strips on their own, especially if they're sweaty and they just come off, they're not going to stick very well. So you want to make sure you're providing a good base for them to hold down. So this is where our pre-tape spray comes in again. Now, you don't have to use these products, but if you do have them, they're very beneficial and they've saved me. I get them just because I work with a lot of athletes when we travel to the States, and if somebody cuts their eye open or something, we don't want to go to the hospital in the States, pay a lot of money, delay the whole bus from coming home. I'll liquid stitch them on the spot, and that'll seal it up. Very small bottle. Okay, but you can take that off. As soon as you drop, even just one drop or 2 drops on there, that's immediately sealed. Okay, so this will save you a lot of time and a lot of trips to emerge. What I usually would use this for is something that they couldn't do stitches on anyways, so the scalp, there's too much hair there. So they usually do staples, or they do liquid stitches in the scalp or on the base of the foot, like the plantar aspect of the foot.
How long do the liquid stitches last?
They last just as long as regular stitches. So when we put this on, it'll instantly fill in and seal the wound. I usually say within about 3 to 5 days, the epidermis will be healed within 3 to 5 days, but in around 7 to 8 days, you know that you're probably safe. Okay? So you can put that on, but if you don't have it, that's fine. We're going to do Seri strip.
Is that something that's removed?
Yeah. It will flake off.
Okay.
So most people just slap down Seri strips. We want to make sure we're doing this properly, and they're gonna last as long as they can. So if you have liquid stitches, we're gonna put these on, and we're gonna try and make them last, for the whole week. If not, then you're gonna put them down, and they're gonna take them off the hospital when they go to do the actual thread and needle type stitches. So we want to make sure once it stops bleeding and we've got it sanitized, we want to prime the area on either side. So we take our pre-tape spray and spray it in the cap. You have Q-tips, dip it in there, and you're going to go on either side of your wound. And that provides an anchor for your Seri strips now. And that's a very strong anchor you're going to see. So here's our Seri strips. Let's say we have them pre-cut to the length we want. You're going to be wearing gloves the whole time you're doing this. Okay, you approximate the edges of your cut. You're going to come on one end, seal it down onto your pre-tape spray. Approximate the edges, bring it across, seal it down, nice and firm. Okay, and as you can see, even just by letting go, you see puckering in that skin. That's holding it nice and tight. And then when we put our second one on, I'm going to overlap the first a little, make sure it's nice and tight on the skin. Approximate the edges, bring it over, push down nice and tight, okay? And we want the entire cut to be sealed, so we don't want anything sticking out the edges. You want the whole thing to be sealed, and if you have to reinforce in the middle, you can. Now, you can leave Seri strips on by themselves, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's better if you put, you know how we seal every tape job? You want to seal this as well. So if you have Hypafix, you can put that on top. But what I would recommend that's much better, especially if I liquid seal it, that's technically the same as stitches. If I put that on, they're not going to the hospital to get stitches, they can just go home. I like to put a waterproof seal on top so that at least they can go home and have a shower. So you can go to Shoppers Home Health and you can get Hyperfix Transparent, or in the front pocket of my bag there, it's also called Tegaderm film, and that's another one they use in the hospitals to keep an IV on. Now, Tegaderm film is very, very expensive, so they come in larger sheets like this, and you can place that on top.
Did you give us some of those?
Sorry?
Did you give us some Tegaderm?
No, these are like $3 a sheet, so they're very expensive. But this, Hyperfix Transparent, will run you about $10 a box. This is the first box I've ever bought. You can cut it to your own size, and it lasts you forever. So I would go with Hyperfix Transparent because you can pre-cut and choose what size you want. So how this works is you take the backing off. The red side is going to stay on. You're going to cover your wound like that. And then when you peel it back, you're going to have this airtight waterproof seal right over top. So he can go now and he's got his wound sealed, he's got it liquid stitched, he's got his transparent film on top, and he can go have a shower and it's not going to get any water in the area. If he does have a little bit, if we didn't seal it properly or he's very hairy and some seeped under, you don't take the film off. When he comes out of the shower, he takes a hair dryer and he'll just dry it so that it's, you know, not going to sit around being wet for a few days. So I'll tell the athlete, you know, leave that on for 3-4 days. Once you want to take that off, it's very important to educate the athlete on how to take Seri strips off if they're going to do it themselves. Because if you do this great job and then they just rip it off the wrong way, they're just going to undo all the great work you just did. So when we take off the waterproof seal, we try and leave the Seri strips on. Okay? And then when we go to take the Seri strips off, usually I'll get tweezers, and you start from one corner. So you don't want to go perpendicular, and you don't want to go parallel. You want to go in a diagonal fashion to where the cut's running. So I'll start on one of the edge of my Seri strips, and we're going to go in a diagonal fashion. You can even approximate the edges too if you want. We're going to come off that way and end off in the opposite corner. And then same thing here. You're going to come in a diagonal fashion. You're going to approximate the edges of your cut. Can you zoom in on that? You're going to approximate the edges of your cut. And then you're going to start on a corner and you're going to peel in a diagonal fashion so you're not opening up the wound. And usually what I'll do is I'll give my athlete, once this comes off, if there's a little bit of blood or it's not fully healed, I'll give my athlete 1 or 2 more Seri strips that they can put on themselves, and then maybe another little piece of the Hyperfix Transparent so they can put another one over top if needed. But if you teach them how to take it off properly, it's just as important as putting it on properly. Okay?
Do you ever use Seri strips as a means